game? Make a game! What's a game? What's a game? I'm a Kamen Rider.
What's up, everybody? It's the Quarter Guy, and sorry about last week. I can't actually remember why I didn't get my 25 cents worth last week, and instead decided to continue my Let's Play of the Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection, but I'm back this week to talk about Sega. Yeah, the Neo Geo isn't the only major video game development celebrating an anniversary this year. Sega has been in the business for 60 years now, and they're putting out all sorts of advertisements for it, from like nearly over 300 Twitter icons, pretty much covering nearly all their properties, from Sega to Knights to Skies of Arcadia to even Rhythm Thief, to Sizzle Reel highlighting their company, to a new advertising mascot who is literally the son of Segata Sanshiro. That's pretty interesting, but and then there's the stuff they're doing that honestly makes me raise an eyebrow. First off, last week, they announced the next mini console, or rather, in this case, a micro handheld. They're making a Game Gear Micro. Now, the thing about the Game Gear, it was actually the first handheld I ever actually owned, before I even owned a Game Boy. It was actually the first communion gift that was given to my family back when I was really young. But I do have some fond memories of the Game Gear, though not all of them are of its library. Yeah, I mean, when you compare the libraries of the GameCube to the Game Boy to the Game Gear, there's really not much comparison, but not to mention, Game Gear was an energy hog, requiring, 6 AA's, or an AC adapter, but it's like, I'm all for a Game Gear collection in some form, and Sega did release an awesome mini console in the form of the Genesis Mini, but the way they're handling the Game Gear Micro honestly strikes me as odd. First of all, it looks basically not too much bigger than a single Joy-Con, and considering the size of people's hands, I can't imagine it's going to be comfortable to hold, especially when you consider the Game Boy Micro and how that kind of bombed. Not to mention resolution issues. I mean, the Game Gear did have a backlight, but it did have a small screen too, but the Game Gear Micro, I can't imagine it being easy to see, which is probably why they're also going to be releasing a magnifier accessory for it. But if you need to have a magnifier accessory to begin with, then, well, that kind of is a problem. Also, it's actually coming in 4 different colors for about the equivalent of $50 each, and each one's only going to have 4 games on it. 4 different games for each color, mind you. And that's honestly odd, considering the Genesis Mini had like 40 games on it. So so if you wanted to get all the 4 colors of the Game Gear Micro, you need to pay more for fewer games total than you would get on the Genesis Mini. So I honestly find that weird. Meanwhile, there was another announcement Sega made last week. Famitsu Magazine, that Japanese magazine that covers the gaming industry, they said it was going to be a game changer here. I was expecting something like Sega entering the console business again after repeated failures of the past, or some people were saying that it was that Sega would be marketing the Xbox Series X under its brand to draw in sales, but apparently their new game-changing announcement was something they call fog gaming. Basically, it would amount to turning their arcade games into basically cloud servers overnight when arcades are closed. And I'm like, what? Now, I don't think it would be as bad as Google Stadia for a couple reasons I can think of. For one thing, they would have the architecture in place as their arcade games. They'd basically be endpoints for a cloud network. Or at least that's what I'm reading from it. The thing is, arcades are huge in Japan. You don't talk about arcades a lot in the US, but in Japan they're a really big thing. I mean, game companies own entire chains of game centers, and they make quite a bit of money. So, of course, they only make money when they're open. When they're closed, that's kind of a gap there. And it looks like that's what Sega's trying to fill there with this fog gaming thing. And considering that Japan is a lot smaller than the US in terms of geographical size, and considering how a lot of the cities are densely packed, I'm guessing Sega doesn't anticipate a lot of latency issues. Still, I do find it odd that with their 60th anniversary, they have these kinds of announcements. That honestly kind of confuses me. And I'm not quite sure how well they're going to do. I kind of have my doubts, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about that. I got some updates. Thank you for those of you who joined me this past Saturday for my first Extra Life multiplayer milestone stream. That was 100% orange juice, since I've reached over $200 on my Extra Life campaign this year. My current total is $265. The next multiplayer milestone is at $500, and that will be Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If you want to contribute to my Extra Life campaign, the link is down in the description, but let me remind you, it is www.extra-life.org/participant/thequarterguy. And all proceeds will go to my Children's Miracle Network hospital of choice, which is Children's Wisconsin. My goal is $1,000 for the year. And if I reach $1,000, I will do a full stream of Beautiful Joe 2 as a follow-up to last year's Extra Life Marathon. And remember, if you include a level code in your donation message for Super Mario Maker 2 or Mega Man Maker, I'll play your level, either on a video or on a stream. And further updates, I am currently working on the script for my next QG at the Arcade, which is covering the Neo Geo hardware and launch titles. So, that should be out later this month. Look forward to that. And for my question of the week, what are some of your favorite Sega titles? As always, leave your answers in the comments. Favorite comments will be featured in the next episode. Here are last episode's winners. And with that, time for the fourth wall mailbag. As always, leave your questions in the community post, and I'll answer my favorites in the next episode. First question this week comes from YouTuber Austin Hudson, who asks, do you plan on redoing your old video of top 15 Castlevania bosses for this Halloween, or do you have something else planned for this year? Well, on my current pattern, Halloween, October, is a QG of At the Arcade video, so I've done the House of the Dead for last year, and this year, I think I'm going to do Darkstalkers. I mean, that's a cult classic series for Capcom, and one that Capcom really should revisit with a full game. Anyway, but, unless I change up the pattern next year, don't expect another actual Halloween countdown. Expect more spooky arcade games. Speaking of which, if you haven't checked out my QG at the Arcade videos, check them out. They're awesome. And that's all I gotta say about that. Next question comes from Ryan Rarden, who asks, which video game character do you think needs a hug the most? I would have to say Lucas from Mother 3. I mean, his mother got killed, his brother got killed, resurrected, and brainwashed. He went through this entire crazy journey, and the ending, Oh my god, the ending of Mother 3. Ugh. Lucas has had to suffer through so much, and I think he needs a hug more than anyone else. And that's all I gotta say about that. Next question comes from Red Tommy, who asks, what is the most appetizing food you've seen in a video game? Honestly, from what I've seen, Final Fantasy XV's cooking. I mean, they did not have to make the recipes from that game look so goddamn appetizing. But they did. It almost makes my mouth water just looking at it. Not to mention the boosts it gives to your party. And, of course, who could forget Ignis's meme line? Recipe. They actually referenced that in the mobile game Dissidia Opera Omnia. They always acknowledge the memes at some point. Next question comes from Marcus the Rocker, who asks, with Secret Skaters being confirmed for the Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, who would you like to see included? Hopefully they can get a license to get Spider-Man back in the game like he was in the original Pro Skater 2. That was actually pretty cool, the moves he had. But failing that, I'd like to see some of their other characters, of Activision's other characters, like, probably the most I would like to see would be Crash Bandicoot. I mean, he looks crazy enough, he looks like he'd have some silly specials to use, and I really would like to see more Crash until Activision's next game. And the last question this week comes from PSB123, who asks, unlikely as it is to happen, how would you react if Konami put out a really good game again? I would check the weather to make sure the world's not ending.